Hi, I'm Steve from Instrument Systems, and I'm going to attempt to show you the murky world of SDI-12. Now, as the last demonstration, we're going to use the Bluetooth to serial adapter. Now, this is the latest version that we've released. The advantage of this one is that it supports the full multi-line snoop, it supports reading of all SDI-12 sensors, and in addition it has its built-in 12-volt power supply which you can use to power your sensors, so you don't need to lug around a big battery when you're trying to test everything. Okay, so now we're going to demonstrate just quickly how to wire up an SDI-12 sensor for diagnostics. This is a pretty typical SDI-12 sensor. We just got the 3 wires, we've got power, ground and data. Now of course every sensor is going to be a little bit different, so you have to check the manufacturer just to see what connection goes to what. So if we use the Bluetooth adapter, which we can use with an Android smartphone or tablet, this is pretty easy to connect to because we've got a built-in 12 volts, an SDI and ground all labelled there. So it's just a case of wiring in your 12 volts and your SDI. And now you'll be able to monitor that sensor with our SDI-12 diagnostics. Now operation is a little bit different because first of all you have to pair the device with your PC. Now for every PC it's always going to be a little bit different. So what we'll do in here is I'll go down to the Bluetooth devices down the bottom, add a device. Now Windows will see if it can find it, which is found it here. It's called a Firefly. We'll select it and go next. Then we'll go into the device's pairing code. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Very secure. Okay, so now Windows will pair with this device and it will remember the device and it's going to show up on the PC as a COM port. I'll just wait for it to finish its process. Okay, so this is all ready now. Now again we can go to our USB to SDI software. And again we have to find the COM port. Now it's found a standard serial over Bluetooth link. There are unfortunately 3 on this PC, 4 on this PC, and we don't know which one is which. So hopefully what we can do is you can go to Windows Bluetooth devices, right click, properties, and then hardware, properties, and I can see that it's on COM15. So we can go back to here, we can select COM15. File, tell it it's the Niwa Bluetooth Direct module, and again I can just go for search for sensors. It will connect to this device, which we'll see when it's connected it will start flashing green, and again we can see that it's found the climber on address 0. Now the data that it found at address 6 and 8 is just communications from the logger that we saw before. So just like before we can go read data on the sensor address 0, and again we've got exactly the same data back again. We can see that the sensor is reading correctly. Like all the other ones, we can change the sensor address through the drop down list. And we can see here that it's now found the sensor on address 1. We can send custom commands. For example, I can change it back to 0. And in this case we can do a snoop. So we can go start snoop, and all the communications between the logger and the sensor we should now see coming through here every 15 seconds. So here we have the 0M command coming from the logger, and then the sensor returning with the address 0, 1 second to return 4 values. Then after a second we can see the logger sends the data command and 4 values returned. So we can see straight away that the logger and the sensor are correctly configured. Right, now we're going to demonstrate the use of the Bluetooth to serial adapter with an Android tablet. Now this app will work identically on a tablet or a smartphone. And on the smartphone it gives you a very useful tool for out in the field. So we'll run the app here and we'll tell it what device to connect to. Try again. There we go. Okay, now from this app you can do exactly the same that you can do with the Windows application. So by swiping left or right, the first thing that we might want to do is scan. So I'll click on scan and I can see straight away that it's found a sensor on address 0. Now the next thing you might want to do is you might want to read the sensor. So again we can select I want to read address 0, read. And again those are the 4 values that we would have expected before. Now other features with this is you can execute an identify. The identify command asks the sensor what it is, and in this case it's returned with an climber sensor. You can also change address as before. I could change from address 0 to address 1. Then if I go scan, I can see, try again, scan, there it is again on address 1. Change it back to 0 for testing. Okay, so the address has changed from 1 to 0. And there it is on address 0 up the top. Now again we can enter custom commands. These are commands that are specific to the sensor as defined by the manufacturer. It's a case of typing in the command that you want. For example, we could go 0, I, and there we can see it's responded to the 0i command with this identify string. Now the last feature of this is Snoop, and just as in to the Windows software, it's looking at the communications between, in this case, the logger and the sensor. So we can see here that the logger has sent out the 0M command and the sensor has responded with the time and the number of values, and then the logger sent the data command and the sensor has responded with the 4 values that we'd expect. So I can see here right away that the logger is correctly sending out the right measure command and the sensor is responding correctly.